In this video, we will take a tour of SketchUp's user interface, and I'll also discuss the differences between the Mac and Windows platforms. To begin with, you'll see a toolbar at the top of the screen with various tools on it. This isn't the only way that you can access these tools. You can go to the View menu and choose Tool Palette's Large Tool Set to open up a historically older interface. There are more tools visible here than you can fit on the toolbar at the top of the screen, so you might be tempted to use the large tool set in lieu of the toolbar. They work the same, so for example, if I click the Line tool, observe that it is selected not only in the large tool set but also up here on the toolbar. I can go ahead and draw a line either way. I'll press the spacebar to go to the Select tool, and you'll see that it's highlighted here and there. So, because of this duplication, it makes sense to choose one or the other. And you might be tempted to go with the large tool set because it has more tools on it, right? But the disadvantage of using the large tool set is that it takes up some screen real estate. And it is possible to customize the toolbar up here, but the behavior is a bit different on the two platforms. In Windows, if you right-click on any one of the tools up here, you'll see a context menu listing many different toolbars that you can open up and dock them at the top of the screen so that you have more tools available. On the Mac, it's different. If you right-click on any one of the tools, you'll see this menu, and you can display the tools in different ways, and you can also customize the toolbar. In this mode, you have access to all the different tools that are available, and you can drag them out and drop them on the toolbar to include additional tools. You can also remove tools by dragging them off the toolbar or reorder them. Note that some of the elements are quite wide, and depending on your screen resolution, you might run out of space. If you want to reset the tools back to the way they were initially, drag the default set up here and drop it. That's the way I will work. Power users tend to prefer keyboard shortcuts. So for example, I can press L instead of clicking the line tool in the toolbar. I find that this is a more expedient way of working, and I'll show you how you can set up your own keyboard shortcuts in another video. Another aspect of the user interface are the various windows that you can open. On the Mac platform, there are a number of floating windows, such as Entity Info, Layers, and Styles. If you keep opening windows, pretty soon you'll run out of space on the screen to work. So it's helpful to know what to do with these windows. On the Mac platform, you can move them around, and when you bring them in close proximity to each other, they'll snap together like that. Once they're docked, you can resize all of them together down to their minimum size, like that. I like to work with these over here in the upper right-hand corner. This emulates the behavior in Windows. In Windows, you don't have these floating windows at all. Instead, you have something that's called the default tray on the right side of the screen. And it has these same names, and you can expand and close them just like you can on the Mac. But in Windows, they remain permanently docked over here on the right. So it's helpful to regain some of the lost screen real estate by collapsing these when you're not using them. Moving on, down here in the lower right-hand corner of the screen is something called the measurements box, sometimes referred to as the value control box. You don't ever have to actually click in this text box to activate it. For example, if I'm drawing a line, you'll see that the values here change dynamically. If I want to specify a certain length for the line, I simply need to type 15 feet enter, and that will be entered. There's never a need to click down here. Also of note is the status bar down here. The messages change depending on the tool that you're using. For example, if I draw a rectangle, it says select first corner, but it also informs me that the modifier key option can be used to change the mode of this tool. So if I press and release the Option key, it goes into a different mode where I can select the center of the rectangle. And each tool is different this way. It'll have a different message on the status bar. So when you're learning, it's very helpful to read the status bar and see what SketchUp is looking for. It's also helpful when you're first learning SketchUp to open up the instructor window or expand it in the default tray. The instructor has additional information that isn't shown on the status bar. So for example, if I go to the rectangle tool, you can read over here that there are different modifier keys that you can use. And this information just is too much and it won't fit on the status bar, so it's not shown. But this is quite helpful when you're first learning a tool. You can read all the different options that are available. In most programs, the Command and Option keys on the Mac map to the Control and Alt keys in Windows respectively, but in SketchUp it's different. The Option key on the Mac is equivalent to the Control key in Windows. Finally, down here in the lower left corner, there are a number of different buttons you can click to activate different things, such as the Credits page within the Model Info dialog box. Incidentally, these are all different pages that you can access. So this concludes our quick tour of SketchUp's user interface and how you can access commands.